Hi, everybody. I'm going to be talking about the intuitive psychology and intuitive physics dichotomy and the role of the anterior cingulate cortex. Research by Baron Cohen and others suggests that there are two different cognitive domains that are in a push-pull relationship in the brain. Intuitive physics, or the ability to predict the interaction between physical objects, and intuitive psychology, or the ability to predict other people's feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Research with fMRI has shown that areas important for intuitive physics deactivate when intuitive psychology areas are more active, and vice versa. This is similar to the antagonistic push-pull interaction between the default mode network and the central executive network. Interestingly, the anterior cingulate cortex and related areas serve as a switching mechanism between the default mode network and the central executive network. One possibility is that the ACC is a more general switching mechanism, not just for the default mode network and attentional networks, but also for intuitive physics and intuitive psychology. There is some indication of this possibility in the subdivisions of the ACC that have been previously identified. There's a rostroventral subdivision that is more associated with emotional processes, and a dorsal subdivision that activates with attentional and cognitive control tasks. Now, if these two subdivisions of the ACC interact differently with the networks for intuitive physics and intuitive psychology, then we would expect to see a different connectivity between these networks and the ACC subdivisions. Specifically, we expect that the ventral ACC may be more functionally connected to intuitive psychology areas, while the dorsal ACC may be more connected to intuitive physics areas. To answer this question, we looked at resting state fMRI data from 10 adults. We created 6mm seeds in ventral and dorsal ACC and calculated the correlations between these seeds and all other brain voxels. We found that the areas with the highest correlations with the dorsal ACC include inferior and superior parietal labial, somatosensory cortex, and premotor cortex, in between others. And next, we compare our results with previous data that studied intuitive physics. These figures in the lower part of the screen show group areas that are active when people perform an intuitive physics task in contrast to a color adjustment task. As you can see, our regions that correlate with the dorsal ACC overlap extensively with these intuitive physics areas. Next, we found that the areas with the highest correlations with the ventral ACC include regions within the default mode network. For example, the medial prefrontal cortex, posterior cingulate, and precuneus, and the hippocampus, in between others. Interestingly, previous research have found similar areas to be more active when people perform tasks that require social cognition. Next, we created two masks using coordinates from previous studies, one mask for intuitive physics within the parietal labial, and one mask for intuitive psychology within the posterior cingulate cortex. Within each of these masks, and for each individual, we calculated the maximum value correlated with the dorsal ACC and the maximum value correlated with the ventral ACC. As expected, the dorsal cognitive ACC is significantly more correlated with areas important for intuitive physics than with areas important for intuitive psychology. And the ventral emotional subdivision of the ACC is significantly more correlated with intuitive psychology areas than with intuitive physics areas. In summary, our results show that the ventral ACC and the dorsal ACC are differentially connected to cortical regions recruited for intuitive psychology and intuitive physics, respectively. These results suggest the possibility that the push-pull relationship between intuitive physics and intuitive psychology could be driven by motivational factors regulated in the anterior cingulate cortex. And future work will evaluate whether the ACC serves as a switching mechanism between intuitive physics and intuitive psychology. I want to thank Jason Fisher, Lee Kwa, and the rest of the Fisher Lab. Thank you very much.